you don't really know why you need to test different things. Like a boot is not going to hang in the air differently than a shoe is going to hang in the air. But there are intangibles that make the experience different somehow. A lot of what we're doing is trying to figure out which things feel solid in the air, or what is the psychological effect of it. For instance, placing cards in the air, they all hang in the air and it's really beautiful, but it basically looks like slow-mo. So like a boot and a shoe actually do start to feel different because like a boot just feels more massive.
We're just checking to see what sort of cool things that we could maybe use later in the video. And that's how we work. We just experiment and play with the stuff until we see something cool.
We started playing with magazines, and laptops, and iPads, and books. It was fun to throw back and forth across the aisle like a laptop. You would never see anything like that happen.
Other things that seem to be very effective are like, throwing balls at the camera and watching the balls just like float to camera. It's very pretty and elegant.
I was up in the front of the plane with our props guy, who's Sergey, who is turning out to be one of the most rad people any of us have ever met. The guy is just committed 100%. He takes it seriously, but he's always got a smile on his face. He cut his hair because he's also a photographer, and his bangs were in the way, so he just cut them off. Like himself that day right then. Every time I look at his haircut, it reminds me just like how he operates, and my spirit's soar. So anyway, Sergey and I were doing the props, and we had this like net full of rubber boots, shirts, scarves, hats, and we went through them kind of in order, and we just one after the other like spun things, flung them, tried to hang them. We had a really, really good time.
Today we had our fourth flight. We had some pretty clear objectives for today. We were going to start playing with foods and liquids. So this is sort of like the gross flight.
I think we're learning that it'll be better to have darker liquids than lighter liquids because lighter liquids don't really show up as well.
And behind us, our props wrangler, Sergey, was playing with the gross liquids like eggs and toothpaste and shaving cream and just stuff that would be really nasty to get on the set at this point.
We originally had kind of a syncopated dance with the laptops, and tops were going up and down, up and down. We ended up simplifying it quite a bit because the first part of this is done in 2G.
We're gonna throw the laptops behind us. Well, I'm gonna throw it forward and the other three guys are gonna throw it back, because in our tests, when everybody just throws something forward, it's visual chaos immediately. At this point, the plan is for Tim and I to try to hold up a chain in a circle in the front. It just sort of hangs there. The floating chain in front of us is really dependent on the quality of the zero-G.
There are forces acting upon us. There are drafts, there is changes side to side and up and down. So the chain doesn't really behave as well as we wanted it to.
In the tests, like us sort of scrabbling with the chain, even though it's not very elegant, it does, I think, really give you a sense of how weird the environment is. It takes on a sort of weirdly whimsical quality, like this big heavy thing is like, hey, I'm a chain.
One of the things I really want to try to accomplish with this is stuff you couldn't do on wires. I want to try to do things that you really only can do in this situation.
The suitcases that we're working with are annoying. To get them openable in a single sort of move, we have them latched with a single latch, but they're suitcases that are not designed for that, so they've just been sort of a pain in the butt.
But all of that just kind of gets wiped away when they open these suitcases, and out come just every colored ball you can imagine. It's so perfect that it looks like CG. We are actually trying to find ways to make sure it doesn't look like CG, like using furry balls, like tennis balls. There's
one sort of rubbery soccer ball that was in the test yesterday, and it made such a huge difference to see something that was very obviously real. It's weird to see something like the basketball or things that are just like very evidently have a texture and a space to them. Basically, I think the more the merrier with the balls, and the more stuff in there that feels really locatable as like a real object, the better. I had a moment yesterday of great joy when we were like, it was like a stressful negotiation about something, I can't remember what it was, and I looked up and saw like this grim airfield space and this big hulking plane with its little orange ladder coming down the side, and like a parade of rainbow colored piñatas being stuffed in.
There's one company that makes piñatas in all of Russia. They are flimsy, they fall apart easily. The mess that they create is second to none. The reset and cleanup of them is difficult. The piñatas were sort of a like, huh? But I think he's gonna steal the show. But he doesn't come to this without a significant amount of assistance from his choreographer in the back, who is Sergey. He's behind the curtain in the back of the plane the whole time. And when that scene 6 comes and that piñata sails through the slit in the curtain, your heart stops for a second. And I just know that's all Sergey back there.
The piñatas have been a disappointment when filled with candy. The bashing is always really nice, and the things exploding from them is nice, but so much of the candy gets actually broken when people are hitting them that you just get this sort of dust flying from them, and we're then left with a plane that's really, really filthy very quickly. So we're gonna try toy farm animals, and hopefully they shapes themselves to be larger and more interesting than just these sort of like specks of candy that just aren't working. There was some worry along the way that paint wouldn't look that much cooler than water. Or rather, there was a worry that it would look that much cooler than water, because water is really easy to clean up and paint is not. They do look a lot cooler than water.
We tape syringe needles to Damien and Tim's fingers so that they can pop these balloons. Damien has orange paint in a purple balloon. But then we don't want to have 2 orange paints in purple balloons. We want to have a nice like firework style array of paint and balloons. So I have my bin of balloons, Tomasz has his bin of balloons, and then we have like a 3rd bin of balloons, which are just the hero balloons in case we pop one and need a duplicate.
It really looks like footage from a scientific camera showing like what happens when you pop a water balloon, because the water just sits there, but the paint just sits there, except that we're all moving in real time.
The guys in the back are kicking up the balls, the suitcases, all the stuff that's landed through the whole video, so we just have the air full of stuff. And then on top of it all, these beautiful sort of bursts of color, and the guys end in their seats where they started.